Hello, hello, it's Monday evening. Am I live? I'm just going to check my MacBook. A bit close. That's a bit close for comfort, isn't it? That's better. Oh, I think there's a few people just coming to watch. Excuse me just for 1 second because I want to see if I'm live. Oh, I am. Have I turned off the sound? I have. Then I'll be able to see your comments on my MacBook, because when I tilt my phone down I won't be able to see what you can see unless I have my MacBook by the side. Well, hello. It's Monday evening. It actually turned into a rather nice afternoon this afternoon after being a horrible morning. So I hope you're all well, and I hope you're all ready for some stitching. So yes, it's been a busy day for me. I've not stopped all day. I've not stopped. I can't cope. I'm getting old now. I can't cope working all day. And Neil's been at work, so I have to warn you that Neil's at work and he's due at home kind of between now and half past 7, something like that. So the dogs will go crazy. I've told Neil he has to be quiet, but I'm not sure that he knows how. So it could be chaos in a few minutes. So if you excuse me, if my family let me down, basically, the dogs let me down all the time. So I've had to close the curtains in the lounge, because every time they see somebody going past down the lane, which is quite a way away from the house, they think that they're going to come and take them for a walk, or they're going to rob the house, something, and they go crazy. Bark, bark, bark. So yeah, and then when Neil comes in, they'll go crazy because I've had to shut the curtain so that they don't see the car, so I'm hoping they won't go crazy until he comes through the door. So if you hear a load of yapping, it's my dogs. Yeah, all three of them. So let's have a look to see. I'm going to refresh this a second because I'm not showing up on there. The comments are showing, but I can't see what you can see, which always helps me. I'm not really very sure why I can't see what you can see, but yes, well, I'll have to see how it goes, because otherwise I'm going to be working in the dark. I don't mean literally in the dark. I mean that I won't be able to see what you can see. It's a pain, isn't it? If anybody, oh, now it's asking me to enter my password because it doesn't like the fact that I've gone bigger. So, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to get back into Facebook and see if I can see what's going on. Just 1 second, bear with me. Right. Let's see if I'm in the right place. No, it's not telling me I'm live. Am I still live? I can hear you, but the picture is jumpy. I think it's possibly the weather. It's quite thundery, I think, here. I'm getting a private message to say everything looks fine. So let's just forget about the MacBook and see if we can just carry on. Yeah, we'll just have to forget about it. So let's see who's coming. So everybody that's come in earlier, I saw Elaine. I've seen Lizzy, so hello to Elaine and Lizzy. I saw Jackie Thomas. I saw Gemma, I think. Oh, there's Gemma. Sound and picture is fab. That's great. So I'm just going to have to, I'm not going to see any of your comments, I'm afraid. I'll keep on trying this, but it doesn't want to come up. It's not telling me on here that I'm live, which is totally ridiculous, because I know I am, because you're talking to me. It's easy, isn't it? You know, you'd have thought that Facebook would have sorted itself out to know that. I'm going to give it one last try, and if it doesn't work, then blow it. Just going to have to. Nope. Oh, hang on. It's, oh, I don't know what it's doing. It's got a funny picture on it now. So So, hi to Leslie. Leslie said she had trouble. Oh, I don't know, it's gone. Had trouble with something. Sorry, Leslie, if you've had trouble with something. I think it was Wi-Fi or whatever. Veronica's here, so good evening to her. Sue, hello Sue. And Lisa's watching. So there's quite a lot of people watching. So it's nice that you could join me. It's Monday. What date is it? It's the 17th of April. 17th of April. And we're here to have a little look and make up the Pink Lady. So here she is. Here's Pink Lady. Some of you have only seen her in photographs. If you joined me on the website this morning, you would have seen that I'd got lots of things inside there, and I've taken the reels of cotton out and I've got the things pertinent to what I need tonight. So hopefully I won't lose anything. At least it won't go falling off the edge of the table unless the whole thing does. I said this morning, I hate gravity. I hate it. But I suppose without it, I wouldn't be sat here, would I? So I'm sorry, but there's lots of banners coming down because there's things going on all over the place. So yes, so we're going to make Pink Lady. She's a lovely oval shape. Let me show you the bottom. So she's a lovely oval shape. And I just wanted to show you the salient points tonight. I didn't want to spend a whole hour just rushing along and making something up that, sorry, interrupting. Hi, Jen. Jen, are you new or do I just not know your name? So it's lovely to have you either way. That's absolutely fine. Jen Sefton, it's nice to have you here with us. Some names I know and some names I don't, so forgive me for that. Yeah, so I don't want to spend the whole of my time just head down and rushing and just not being able to socialise and you know, making a mess of things. So we're going to do the salient points, and I have done quite a lot of preparation today. It's not a big project, but it is a nice project. Oh, Lisa Layton is watching. If that is my Lisa Layton, say hello, Lisa, because it's lovely to see you. My Lisa Layton was a friend and colleague that I was nursing with, so it's nice to see Lisa here tonight. She lives not very far up the road, but I haven't seen her for ages. So it's lovely to welcome Lisa tonight. Yes, so it's not a long project. It's not a complicated. Hello, Lisa. Hello. Sorry, it's not a complicated pattern. It's easy enough to do, but there's a few bits and pieces that you might not have done so much of, or some of our newer members might not have done so much of, and you need a little bit of a reminder. So we're going to just look at those. So I'm going to take a shorter time tonight, and then after I've finished, I've got a couple of things to talk to you about, and we'll have a bit more of a relaxed Monday. I know the boss is watching, but she's away, so while the cat's away, the mice will play. So we're going to have a bit more of a relaxed evening tonight. I know that there'll be some people sewing along, but I know some of the regular ones, you'd be able to do it without me here, I'm sure. So you enjoy yourself and don't wait for me. You carry on if you need to. Okay, so it's 7:10. So I'm aiming to finish by about 20 to 8 doing the sewing bit, and then I've got a few bits and pieces to tell you, a bit of housekeeping and all that kind of thing, and a few little things to show you. So I'm going to tilt the camera down. Something needs some chill out time. Has been, I don't know who this is, but hello, you need some chill out time because you've been looking at houses today and your head is buzzing. If you're looking to move, it's no wonder your head is buzzing. My head buzzes at the thought of it, to be quite honest. I'm going to be here until I don't need a house anymore. And then the children can have it, hopefully, unless I have to pay for my keep. But I can't even think about moving. What a stressful time. Yeah, I expect your head is buzzing. So have a chill. Get a cup of tea, get a biscuit, get a gin and tonic, whatever you fancy. And so I will poke the camera down, or bend it down, and we'll just play for a second or two to make sure I get the right angles. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Excuse my hand for a moment. Now that might be a bit close, but you tell me if it's okay. I'm just going to have another look on here to see. Oh, it's actually working. Shh, 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 shh. It's working, and it looks like I've got a good enough view there. I hope you're all right with that. So that's great. So I'm going to bring in. So here she is. I can show you at this angle now. It's a little bit. Oh no, she's gone again. Here she is. That's the back. My seam down the back and joining up with my binding seam, and that's the front. And you can see I've got my little bits and pieces in it. Okay, so here we are. The first thing that we need to do is to just give you a quick look at the templates. So there's a template from my base. Yours in your pattern and your patterns and everything will have the pattern here. They'll have the measurements on and everything like that. I haven't got them on mine. I printed it out before they put them on. And that's the base. So here's my base, and I'll show you that in a moment. This is the same template, but I'm going to show you about that. So when you cut out your template, make sure you cut on the cut line, and I've indicated which is the cut line, and then we'll have a look in a minute at what we're going to do after that. So here are my rectangles. This, if you can see, is more or less the same size as that, minus the seam allowance there, because what I've done is I've put short sides together. Well, in fact, what I did first was to pop on the wadding. I've got H640 here, and then I put the short sides together and stitched along there with the usual seam allowance. I did the same with the lining piece. So your template goes on the fold of your fabric, open it out, put your short ends together and stitch. Okay, then with the outer piece, I'm going to turn it in the right way. So that's that. I've ironed the seam open and we're ready to go. With this one, you will see that what I've done with the template is to cut along what is my sew line, but only for the paper. Don't be tempted to cut your fabric. Don't cut your fabric. All right, all we're doing is cutting the paper template, and then all I've done is I've popped let me show you the right side. So here's the seam on this side. The template will go there, and I've just drawn a line with my heat erasable pen going down that side. And then you'll need to have it on the other side as well. So if you turn this over, you'll need to flip this over, because we still want this side on the seam allowance, and you'll see why when I show you in a minute. So flip it over and do the same thing, and then when you come to open it out, you will see that on that seam line there you've got one whole scallop, I'm going to call it. I don't know what the singular term for a scalloped edge is, but I'm going to call it a scallop. And so you've got one that meets around there. You don't want two little ones that come down into a point or anything silly. And if you see my seam at the back there, you can see that I've got a scallop there on the seam. I'm hoping that you can see that, because I can see absolutely nothing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is that we're going to put the outer inside the lining. So pop that on the inside, and we're going to line up those two seams. So just put your seams together, and you can put a clip or a pin, whatever you want to do. I'll put a pin in there, and then this is what is going to be the bottom, because the scalloped edge is at the top. Okay, so pin all the way around. You don't have to pin if you don't want to. You can clip. Whoops, that's my pin gone for a burden. See it, because it's not in my little pink lady. But what is in my pink lady are my clips. So, and if you've got your seam allowances correct and you've cut correctly, then this will fit perfectly. All right. So I'm just going to put one or two at the top as well. Now what I am going to do, if you've got a free arm on your sewing machine, then you'll be fine doing it this way. But I'm going to have to turn this in the other way because I don't have a free arm. So I want to sew inside here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew on that drawn line. Sew on the drawn line for the scallops. So let's move everything out of the way, bring in the machine. Now I'm going to have to trust you to tell me if you can't see. And when you tell me, yeah, we're enjoying the demo. That's the knit trick twist. That's Rachel and Bridget. Thank you for joining me, and I'm glad you're enjoying seeing this. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see that. I'm going to just put that back a little bit so you can see a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to put, you would normally, if you've got an arm there, you would normally put it over the arm and stitch from the outside, but I'm going to stitch from the inside. And obviously I've marked the lining of this because I can't draw on the interfacing. So it doesn't really matter where you start. That's a good start because my machine has just unthreaded itself. Or maybe it didn't, maybe I didn't thread it properly. So bear with me. There we go. I've never got to grips with the automatic thread cutter on here. So, okay. So we're going to pop this in. Doesn't really matter where you start because we're going in a circle. But I kind of like to start on the seam at the back. Now, can you see that? If I try and hold that out of the way, I'm going to put my stitch length down to about between 2 and 2.4, something like that. And I'm going to stitch just gently. I'm not going over my pins, so make sure you take your pins out. These scallops are not that deep, but you just need to be careful with them. So go slowly. Don't forget we're having a chill night, so we don't need to rush. There's one of my pins again. I don't want that falling on the floor because I know a little Frank who likes to come into the workroom and pick up pins. That's 2. So just wiggle it around. Whoops. Wiggle it around till it's at the right angle. I'm trying to hold everything out of the way for you, but it's not easy. You have to lift your foot and go round, or if you're lucky enough to have a machine that the foot automatically lifts up, then that's really handy. It doesn't take long. It's not complicated. It's just that you have to be a little bit cautious. Okay, wiggle it around. Take that pin out so it doesn't catch me. Try and stick to your lines if you can, because you want these scalloped edges to be nice and rounded. You don't want them pointed, sharp or flat. You want them to stay nice and rounded. And you can see that I'm using my, I was going to say my zipper foot then. It's not a zipper foot, is it? What is it? It's a walking foot. That's what it is. Oh dear. It's bad when the person demonstrating hasn't got a clue what foot she's using, isn't it? Terrible. It's a walking foot. You might have a walking foot for your machine, or you might have a dual feed foot on your machine. And this is the time to use it because we're going through some layers. They're not thick, but because we are manoeuvring our fabric all the time, your layers are apt to slip if you've got an ordinary foot on. Doesn't matter if you haven't got one, you'll manage, but just be cautious. So I'm coming up to the last full one then, and then the little half by the seam. And just this little half a one so that it meets on the seam. And that's why the template is written as it is. So if you're wondering why I made it look too complicated, well, that's the reason, because we need to have it correct. So just trim off my ends here. I'm hoping I'm in the right place. I think nearer to me is a little bit better than further away, isn't it? So I've got all those off. So now what we're going to do is to use our pinking shears, and we're going to come outside the scalloped edge and trim the fabric off. So be careful you don't go trimming the wrong fabric. So keep your hand inside to see. I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing. I think you can. I haven't gone quite far enough there. So this is not quite a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance here. I'm cutting off so that we go a little bit closer so that we can have our scallops all nice and rounded. And then I'm going to snip into these little valleys as well. Mind over the seam so it doesn't run away with you. Have you all downloaded your pattern? Are you all going to have a try? I'll be disappointed if I don't see any. So you're all going to have a try just for me. Just for me. It's a lovely little pot, tub, whatever you call it. So you can see that I've done the scalloped edge all the way around. And if I can, if I can do it that way, I'll just show you how I snip into the little valleys. I'm not going to do them all because of time. That's how we snip into the little valleys, into these little bits here, and that will make our scallops a bit tidier and a bit neater and a bit nicer. So now we're going to turn it through, and we're going to use our poking tool to get them all nice and neat. So what I do is to bring the lining inside and then go with this between the lining and that and push them out. She said. You find your own way. It's probably much better than mine. I'll do it with my fingers first. There we go. That's better. Just do it with my middle finger there while I've got the lining in my hand. There we go. And now we can push it through. Then turn my iron on. So we give that a little press. And poke those out really well. You can roll them in your fingers as you're ironing as well. Now mine won't be fantastic because I'm not going to spend loads of time on them, but I'm going to bring in my ironing mat. Let's just pop those away in there and pop the pins back where I had them from and grab my iron. So give them a really good press inside and out. I'm not going to have enough time to do it, and mine are not going to sit as flat as I would like them because I haven't cut right down into those little valleys. So if yours don't go flat, turn it in the other way and take off a little bit more of that bulk. Alright, under normal circumstances I would do it, and you'd see with my other one that it's really nice and flat inside. But roll them through your fingers and they will go. If you're not happy with them, take that back to the other side and cut a little bit more into those valleys. Just be careful with your stitches, of course. If you're worried about cutting too close to your stitches, do 2 lots of stitching. Just go round again over the top of the first one, and it does help to make things stronger. So those aren't perfect, but they're okay. Now don't worry about seeing some of the lining over the top of the outside, because we're going to fold that back a bit later on. You see I've got little creases there, but you know, you understand. You understand. And what I am going to do now to make things easier for the next step is to baste all around this lower edge. So I'm going to put some clips on just to keep that together while I stitch. But I'll manoeuvre the fabrics when I come to them. So pull your lining down. It will go, it will fit. This little tub is handy. So can I see any? Christine Long says, so do I. I haven't got a clue what you mean, Christine, but, you know, good. If you're talking to me, I apologise. If you're talking to somebody else, I know they know what you're talking about. Isn't it awful when you can't see what people are saying? A few little creases that give the finished article a bit of character. Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. It makes it your own, doesn't it? So I'm going to bring in the machine again. I'm going to go from the inside because that's easier for me, like I explained before. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to lengthen my stitch. In fact, I'll pull my thread out a little bit more. Do you know what? The cutter on this needs a little look at, I think, because it's not cutting clean. I'm going to put my stitch length up to 3. In fact, I'm going to start again because I don't know quite what happened there. It's only a basting, so don't worry about it. It'll all be in the seam allowance. So you want to baste it at less than 1/4 inch because you don't want this seam showing when we do the other bit. Okay, so all I'm doing is stitching through all those layers right on the very edge. There we go, and we come to the end. So that's that bit. The next bit that we should be doing, that's the side bits that are finished, and when we turn those over, yes, it's going to look messy because I haven't done the cutting down in the valleys, but I will give that a really good press later. We're going to fold that over later on, and that's how it will be. Okay, so got a couple of threads there. How are we looking for time? We're nearly past, so we're not going to take too long. What I've done in preparation is I've put the outer base right sides together with the lining base, and in between there is my wadding, or whatever you use, fusible fleece, whatever you want to call it, just cutting a few of those ends off. And I don't know whether you can see the markings there, but I've marked north, south, east and west. North, south, east and west. West and east. North, west and east. So on this piece we have to do the same, and I'm using the seam line here as one of my compass points, and I'm going to make a mark opposite the seam. So fold on the seam, make a mark opposite the seam. If it's 1 millimetre out, it will sort itself out, don't worry. And then, so you can see that I've got that mark there on the lining side, and then I'm going to put that seam onto there and mark the 2 other sides. A little mark where the seam is. Yeah, it's all in place. And are you all right for seeing, everybody? Is everything making sense and you all okay for seeing? Is there anybody there? You see there's people there. Emma says it's pretty pink fabric is lovely. Yes, it's nice, isn't it? So I presume you can see, because otherwise you wouldn't know what the fabric was like. Okay, so I need to be kind of about there, don't I? I can kind of see where you're at. So for the next bit now, what we're going to do is to marry up these points. So the shorter side, one of the shorter ends rather than the long oval side, is going to go at the seam, and we're going to put lining pieces right sides together. Then we're going to line up the next one. You can put a pin or a clip in here. I might actually put a pin because they do tend to hold a little bit better. So I'll put a pin. We're putting a pin on, we're having the straight edge, so the outer sides on the outside. And I'll show you what it looks like when I've done it. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch. So there you can see that that's sitting in place. Don't worry about the other bits, just put the pins in the places where you've marked, because we'll maneuver the other bits as we go round. So I'm going to stitch all the way around, and as I do, I'm going to snip into the straight edge. So the straight edge will be on the top and the base will be underneath. Okay, I think you can see there. Can you see the machine there? And again, I'm going to start off where I've put that pin in the... So I'm going to shorten my stitch again to about 2.4, have my scissors ready, and I'm also going to have my stiletto ready. Now, I'm hoping that you can see that, because I want you to see what I'm going to be doing as I go around. So on the top, we have a straight edge, and to make it fit into the curved edge, I'm just going to snip at about 1 centimetre intervals, and I'm just going about 1/8 of an inch. In fact, I'm going up almost to my stitch line, and I'm going to the next pin, just on that quarter then. And that helps me, and this also helps me, my stiletto, okay, to hold this in place. I'm hoping you can see that. I'm holding this in place just in front of the foot, and I'm going to sew. It's 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to use my stiletto to hold all those raw edges together. Take your time. I find putting my hand inside helps me to push this top bit to the edge, to the proper edge, and then I hold it with my stiletto. We're coming up to that pin, so gently go around. I'm going to take the pin out, and then I'm going to cut into my top fabric only, so the straight edge, at about 1 centimetre. How much is that? I don't know, just less than 1/2 inch. I don't work in centimetres, I don't know why I'm saying that. The pin's come out there, so I'm just going to pop that back in. There we go. So if you have to manoeuvre your fabric, keep your needle down, pop your foot up and then pop it back down. Use your stiletto again. We carry on going round. Okay, so I'm going to take my pin out. What did I do with my scissors? There it is. See, I lose everything. I need tubs for everything, I reckon. Just about, I don't know, I suppose it's 3/8 of an inch, 1 centimetre, is it? Something like that. But stiletto is your best friend here. Don't go any further if your raw edges are not meeting. Make them do as they're told. It's not difficult, it's just a little bit fiddly. And like I said about the outsides meeting and fitting, if you've cut correctly and your seam allowance has been correct all the way through, then this will fit. I haven't got my hands crossed, my fingers crossed, but I got my toes crossed. There we go. Lift that up again so I can put that right up to the edge. There we go. Put your hand inside, make them come together nicely. If you do a bigger seam allowance than 1/4 of an inch, or you don't line up your edges, your raw edges, directly on top of one another, then it's not likely to fit. Okay, these are not likely to fit if you don't stick to the rules. They're not rules really, they're just advisory, but it's a good tip to make sure that you stay in your seam allowance and make sure those edges have lined up. Do you see they're all really nicely lined up all the way around, and that will stand up. So then all we have to do for that, to make it look a bit like the finished item, is to turn those over, and we'll give them another press in a minute. Now I'm going to take 2 or 3 minutes just to show you how to start the binding off. What I'm going to do is grab my binding, and what I have done, sorry, not what I'm going to do, is that I've turned the binding in by 1/2 inch. Okay, so this is shop bought buyers binding, and actually I find for this it's quite good, because what I'm going to do is open it out, and I'm going to sew at first on that crease there. So this folded edge will go to the seam if I can find it. So that's where I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to sew over the top of my original stitching at 1/4 of an inch, which is another reason why you want to stick to 1/4 of an inch and no more when you were stitching the edges together just a moment ago. So I'm going to just pop a pin in there so I can manoeuvre things. I've got the fold directly on that seam, can you see? And then, like you can see in this one, that fold is directly in line with your seam, so it's really nice and neat. Okay, and I'm going to take it to the machine. Let's bring you in again. Turn my iron off, I can hear it clicking at me. And I wish I could have a camera behind me so that you could see, but I'm not equipped for having cameras behind me, and I haven't got a big enough room, and oh, moan. So we're going exactly on that edge, and we're going to sew on the crease. So start off right at the beginning and sew all the way around on that crease. Now it's biased, so you don't have to cut anything. And I'm still on about 2.4 stitch length. So make it sit down. Use your stiletto again, because it is your friend. You'll notice that this stands up, and that crease on the binding just sits where it stands up. It's well, try it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Who thought this pattern up? It's pretty good. Oh, do you know, I didn't hear the dog's bark, did you? I wonder if he's not home. Haven't heard the door go either. Oh, I just heard the door go. Just heard the door go, so somebody's at home. Right. So I'm not going to do any more of this after I've popped this binding on. I'm just going to show you what it looks like, and then you'll be away. So we're coming towards where we started off again. So I'm going to trim this now. You can see here, I'm hoping you can see. Let me see if I can angle this camera a little bit better. How's that? Is that any different? Is that any better? Right. So we've got the fold here on this piece of binding. I want to come over that Just go straight over, because I've started right at the beginning with my stitching. Just go straight over. So I'm going to trim it about, oh, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch beyond. So open up again, lay it on top of one another, and just keep going until you finish. Okay, pop that away because I think that's the last we've heard of that. And so you can see, I'm hoping you can see, let me bring that up a little bit again. You can see that my binding overlaps, and then that will go over and under. So you may need to clip, depends on what binding you're using, and it depends on what wadding you've used, but this will go all the way over, and we will hand stitch down at the other side. We might have to clip into these seams a little bit, because if it's quite thick, then it might, see, that doesn't actually come right over. So I'm not going to do anything with that other than show it to you, because I'm going to hand stitch it, but I am actually going to trim the edges off with that. I'm just going to give this another bit of a press so that those look a bit better, and then I've got my buttons ready. I'm not going to stitch them on tonight, but what I will do is to just show you what I've done when I've stitched them on. I'm just giving this a little press from the inside now so that those scallops look a little bit nicer. You'll do this very carefully, I know you will, and if you need a little bit of spray, Sew Flat or Best Press or water or starch or whatever you use. And then all we're going to do when we finish this is to fold these over. And I don't do anything with this other than give it a good press, and then sew the buttons on all the way through. So they're quite nice, aren't they? You can see if I put a pin like that, you'll be able to see. So in the middle of a scallop, I've got all pink ones for this one. We just sew through, well, not through all the layers, because we don't want ugly cotton knots on the inside, but you can catch the layer underneath here and go through the wadding on that front. All right, so there's no hard and fast rule about how much you fold over. Depends on how big your buttons are. These are about 1 inch. If you want smaller buttons, just go a little bit smaller. Depends what look you're after, and it depends how deep you want it. But there she is. That's her almost finished. That's you ready to start yours or finish yours. I'm going to bring the camera up and show you on the other view. Love the idea of the buttons. Thank you, Judith. See, I can see who's talking to me now. I couldn't before. I'm so sorry. Yvonne says a lovely make. Thank you, Yvonne. So yes, if you don't want to put buttons, don't put buttons. This really does need a press, and it really needs a press when you've folded it as well. And these wrinkles are because I didn't, let me find, see, look at that. That's because I cut into that little valley. 2 or 3 of those I cut into the valley, and it sits much nicer. So do make sure you do that. It's just time for me, that's all, but do make sure you do that. Anita says it's super, thank you. We've got the lining to just hand stitch down, and the buttons to sew on, and a bit of ironing to do, and she's sorted. So I will finish that tomorrow morning, and I'll post it in the MIM group for you so that you can have a look at that. In the meantime, you've had a look at the other one. They're quite pretty, aren't they? Do you see with this one I've used the bit of lacy binding. It's really quite pretty. I like that, and I love this fabric here. I think it's Lewis and Irene. Just absolutely gorgeous. But this is Tula, of course, so I've already won Abby over, I'm sure, if she's watching. Hello, Abby. I hope you like the Tula. So yeah, that's my little pink ladies for you. I told you I was in apple mode this month. We did Pippin the other week, didn't we? And Pink Lady. That was Lizzie's. I said, oh, what apple can I use? And Pink Lady, she said, it's got to be. And she's right. It's a great name, isn't it? I love it. And of course, apples are pink and red and green, aren't they? So so that's brilliant. So hello, Sarah. I didn't realise that you were with us, Sarah from the States, and she says, thank you, lovely project. Oh, you're very welcome. I really enjoyed making it and enjoyed putting it together for you. So there's a couple of little things that I just want to tell you about for the next couple of minutes. You can see in the background now, can you see, if I put that up, can you see what's up there? First of all, can you see what's here? Shall I bring it down? I'll show you. It's very gracefully hanging on a pin. So I don't know if there's anybody in the whole world that hasn't heard about wonky squares. If not, where have you been? The case, I couldn't think of. I'm terrible with my words tonight. The case I'm holding is a free pattern when you buy the Wonky Squares templates. And the Wonky Squares templates are these shapes here in 4 different sizes. This is the smallest size. And when you put 4 of them together, it makes a square. In fact, whatever size you use, when you put 4 of them together, it makes a square. But you can use different sizes with each other to make different shapes, and you can make different, you know, you can make staggered squares and all sorts of things that you can do with them. They're so versatile. And so Lizzie's really kindly given us a free pattern. So if you buy a set of Wonky Squares, which you can get on pre-order at the moment because we sold hundreds last week, if you buy a set, you get this pattern for free. Inside we've got 2 pockets, and you can see, those have just fallen out, but you can see that my Wonky Squares are sitting really nicely in there. That's how they come to you, packaged really safely and all stuck together so that you can store them safely in your Wonky Squares or in your template travel case or carry case or whatever you want to call it. And then these are my other Lizzy templates, so those go in the other pocket. So let me just tie it back up again. You won't see this for a minute. Just bring it up together, tie it with your little ribbons there, and there you have. You had a little play with it and you got somewhere to store it. So I know that they're always going to be behind me because I keep losing things. I'm losing my marbles, but I know that so somebody's put a little link up for you as well. So if you want to pre-order some of those, then they're available to pre-order, because the first few hundred that we had, we sold out within less than a week. Yeah, I thought you'd love the colour, Jan. It's lovely, isn't it? Great colour. So they're on pre-order, but they're due to arrive week commencing the 24th, which is a week today. So you're not going to be waiting very long for them at all. So have a look on the website at all the acrylic templates. They're all fantastic. There's a special treat coming up at the end of the month when I shall be doing something for my mid-month madness pattern. If you're part of the group in the Lizzy's Fabulous Sewing group, then I should be doing my mid-month madness pattern using the templates. So that'll be good fun. And then if you've seen the website over the last few days, over the weekend, you will see that we have a new pattern on the website, and she is called Camille. Isn't she pretty? See those fabrics? They're just gorgeous together, aren't they? So Camille is a patchwork cushion. She's got a little bit of wadding inside. There's a tiny bit of quilting. You can do as much as you like. And there's an envelope back. If you want to put a zip in, you can put a zip in. But the lovely thing about Camille is that she's got some piping as well. And the pattern goes into detail about how to do piping. And Lizzy's done a few bits and pieces now with piping on. So you've got lots of videos to look at if you're concerned about piping. Don't be. I was always worried about piping. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Since I learned to do it, it's easy. It's like anything else, isn't it? If you don't know how to do it, it feels difficult. But it's easy. When you know how, it's easy. So this is Camille. Camille is currently on special offer. because she's a brand new pattern for the website, just a little extra for you. And if you're if you're a subscribing member, then you will get an extra little bit off, and you know about that because it's advertised in the Lizzy Special Friends group. Lizzy's special, a fabulous sewing group. Special Friends, that's a long time ago, wasn't it? So I've got wadding on my tongue. So everybody, Higgs and Higgs fabric, yes, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Have a look at Higgs and Higgs, because a lot of their fabric as well is extra wide, so it's really economical. It's great. So yeah, online, Higgs and Higgs. They're not very far from me. They're only about an hour away. I don't go very often. Bank manager won't let me. So that is Camille. Those are the wonky squares. This over here is the Seminole cushion. If you weren't about for the 4 days of Easter, then that's what we did. There are still some bits and pieces on the Facebook pages, on Lizzy's Facebook page here, for you to see how that was done if you want to have a go at that. And there's lots of lovely pictures being shared in the MIM group as well. So there's been lots going on over the last couple of weeks, and I'm really glad that you've managed to catch up with me tonight. And so Lizzy will be back on Thursday to do our group Thursday chat. So if you're not part of the group and you haven't subscribed, then you can go to the website and take out your plan and then join the group. If you've already taken out your plan and you're not in the group, then request to join and we can let you in. So yeah, Lizzy said, thank you, I just love them. My bank account doesn't. Exactly, that's the problem. Yeah, last time I went, I spent far too much. But there we go. So that's on Thursday, and there's something special that Lizzy's got for you on Thursday night. As always, we always have a fabulous time on a Thursday night. So as I say, if you're not part of that, have a look into that, and you won't regret it. And then Lizzy will be back next Monday with another Making It Monday here on the Lizzy Curtis page. So lots going on, lots to look forward to. Thank you for spending the last almost an hour. I'm going to stop because we've done what we're going to do, and I'm going to go down and see my husband, who's been at work for the last 13 hours. Left before I was awake this morning. So have a good evening, the rest of your evening. Enjoy. Have a good week. We'll see you Thursday, Monday, whenever you can make it. It's going to be great. See you then. Take care. Bye for now.